fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey Star Trek Fleet Commanders, welcome back to the channel, and today I want to talk about a quality of life addition that got added to the game that's very similar to something that we had previously, but kind of builds on the idea and makes it better. Now, this has been a month where I think the quality of life has gotten overshadowed a bit. Hence why I want to make this video to talk about it, make people aware or cognizant of this getting added, because as months tend to happen, like June of when this is coming out, you maybe have a lot added in terms of features. Mirror Universe being this month. So with the Mirror Universe being 20 minutes and just a lot of stuff and a whole research tree and 45 systems, it's easy for like the quality of life things that happen that in my opinion are good to get kind of overlooked, right? And that's completely understandable. You're trying to go through and do all the things, but it was talked about in the patch notes. We briefly mentioned it, and I talked about how excited I was, including at the end of the last state of the game, which many of you really enjoyed. I liked that. So to be very clear, I'm not saying that if you have feedback on a month with a lot of features, you shouldn't say, hey, I don't like the 20-minute grind, but I still think good things should be seen, and especially if it helps players, which I do think this one does. So here is the announcement and the patch notes, but let's talk about in-game, like how exactly does it work? So the basic idea is very similar to what we already had with this, which is our away teams. If you're not doing away teams, I strongly encourage you to. If you are a new player looking at the game right now, you're like, hey, because we've had a lot of players in the 20s and teens and 30s coming by lately, you really want to focus on away teams. They're very important. And we have a small little find it system here, if you will, where we can sort by traits. And it's one of the things that I think is fantastic and is wunderbar. But you'll notice these little buttons around places now. And if you click them, you can see specifically docked, deployed, assignment, traits. All right, so we had that one before. This is kind of like the original sorting, if you will. But now it's been expanded, and I think it's much better. So let me show you what it is currently in the game, and there's a couple ways to now use the new sorting system. So if you click on the officers button right above me, you'll notice another one of those little kind of like info buttons that you can click. Brings up this particular menu. Now, I feel like Scopely probably did a really good job of picking major features that you would want to look for. For example, currently in the game, isolytic is a pretty big deal. So this is now every officer currently set that does any type of isolytic change. Whether it's PvE, PvP, etc., you've got them all right here. That's pretty important, right? And in fact, another important one would be critical chance. Quite a few officers manipulate critical chance, and maybe some that you've forgotten, or maybe some that don't have any real sourcing. Looking at you, Karen Reese. Scopely, it'd be nice to source PvP officer. Really, really nice. Anyway, I do think a good job. There are a couple that are like, oh man, I wish I was kind of split. For example, the status effect. It'd be nice if it had officers that spark, say, burning, assimilate, morale, hull breach, and then another one that said, hey, these are officers that work with that or require that ability to be active. The difference between, say, Mirror Universe Picard that came out this month and Mirror Universe Data. So Data procs assimilate, but Picard needs assimilate. So it'd be nice to maybe go in a little bit more depth there, but I still think overall good. For example, impulse speed. I'm going to do not deployed, and not docked, not deployed, not on assignment. You see, I really limit how many impulse officers I have handy, but I think that there's a lot of good here. You see, I've added that as a filter. I can go and reset it here in a second, but here's your impulse speed officers. And we talk about, hey, what can you do for impulse speed? Well, I run Enterprise E Riker, Strange Word Erna, and Curon. Now, I'll never use Hugh because Hugh's obviously more valuable with his below deck ability that is critical based. But you still have Burnham, you still have Pan, which you can do synergy with Pan, Navi, and then you also have Claw. So there's actually basically 3 speed crews you can build in Star Trek Fleet Command, which can be very helpful for things like Mirror Universe grinding. Well, you didn't really have the easy way to find that until this tool got added. So I'm going to reapply, reset my filters, and let's say, hey, I want to look at warp range. I know that's a big one, especially for lower levels, always trying to find ways to get further out there in the galaxy. And you can see currently there's not a lot. And I'm actually hoping that Star Trek Fleet Command, the people who actually released this, actually pay attention to this. And the reason I'm highlighting some of the ones in this video, there's only 3 warp range officers, yet we have new ships coming out like the Voyager and the NX-01 that have incredible warp range. But lower levels still need to be able to reach things a little bit deeper, I would say. I think there's an argument for more warp range officers, especially ones like Grush, who a little bit more unique in that their fight or flight is based on a percentage versus TOS Scotty, who is just simply a flat addition. And I should have saved That is what I was looking at. So do Warp Rage again and then just hit apply. So TOS Scotty is simply a flat addition of 5 if you've maxed out Cadet Scotty, which not everybody maybe has. So I think you can use this as a tool as well if you're STFC to say, hey, what can we add to the game that maybe we're missing? Now, Protected Cargo, I did a whole video about, which would be really nice to have had this when I did my Protected Cargo video to kind of warn people that PvP was coming, but Protected Cargo video so that you can better equip your miners to have better sustain or better survivability. And then I think one of the bigger ones is critical damage, which we know in Armada builds, PvP builds, critical damage and critical chance are absolutely critical, pun intended. So as a tool, I feel like these are great additions. Now, I do want to add one more thing that if you haven't noticed before, well, today we're going to show you. If you actually go into your ships and then you want to go to the Assign Officers menu, this is actually where I feel like it gets really, really handy. You have that button again right here. So if you click it, now you can use that same strategy, but now we're doing it while we're in our loading screen. So isolated damage, here we go. And I can hopefully find somebody maybe below decks I can throw up there, which I actually do have an officer. I have Shax. Now, Shax below decks right here, you see is on an Explorer with morale. Well, I'd have to have morale somehow, so that means that I would need to go find morale. What's an easy way to do that? Well, I'm gonna go back to my menu, reset it, status effect, and we all know that Ensign Kim will give me morale. So I would simply have that sorted, and then I'd go find Ensign Kim. Now that one, this is why I wanted it. I talked about splitting that into 2, because you see we have lots of things. But there's Ensign Kim right now, currently not even being used. Hey, we'll get Spock out of there. And look, for my Explorer, what did I just give it? Well, I increased its isolated defense by giving it morale. There you go. So these are really neat things that make the game easier for everybody. And seeing them actually use an application, I think, is what a lot of players are looking for. That way they know whether they should use something or if they don't need to worry about it. And I feel like this was a very good quality of life change. It's small enough to not be anything major or too disruptive, but it is simple enough to be effective to the vast majority of players out there who want to find easier ways to load out their boats and better ways to load out their boats here in STFC. And I'm hopeful more quality of life improvements like this come down the pipe. One example that we've talked about a lot this month, especially to the Overlords, is the amount of clicks in the game. I know this is just a click that I just did, but I spent 30 minutes today just doing my refinery clicks, my export clicks, my daily claims, and I actually still have others to go because they're not on the same timer, which is incredibly annoying, but I guess technically that's my fault. I could do that better. But quality of life things are good. I want the game to focus more on quality of life. I'm hoping that videos like this are popular because people see quality of life and they want to enjoy that. And then Scope was like, oh, we do more of that. So we'll continue hammering on more quality of life additions. I do feel like the officer sorting here is a great one. I do hope that less clicks and everything is being listened to. And I know it is, but hopefully rolls out really soon so we continue to have better things. You know, not everything that they come out quality of life I personally love, but I know a lot of people love this, for example, the preset cruise, right? This is, in my opinion, better, but all these quality of life features are needed. Hopefully more come down the pipe. And y'all let me know what you think about this one and others in the comment section down below. I will be live again later on Twitch. Make sure you come join by. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up always on Facebook or Discord or our website, revdeuce.com. Live long and plunder. Stay safe for the Space Cowboys. Deuces. That's me. Catch you on the next Star Trek Fleet Command video. And we are out again.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.